Welcome to the Stronger Than Steel podcast with your host, Austin Davidson and John Keir, talking Steelers all the time. Now, here's Austin and John.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Season 4, Episode 38 of the Stronger Than Steel podcast, or maybe we should call it the Sicker Than Steel podcast, because right now, me and John are sick, so forgive us if we are nasally. Also, Juju Smith-Schuster and Randy Fiechner are sick, so maybe that's the more appropriate name for today. How you doing today, John? How you feeling?
Oh, happy Friday, Austin. It's we're getting into that time of year, and it's as great as it is for the football season, it's not so great for at least what I do, delivering mail, and the fact that I'll be outside all the time in the cold weather. But, just a reminder that the cold weather's coming, and I definitely don't like being sick, as I'm sure nobody does like being sick. But it is what it is, Got to put a smile on my face and keep going every day. We got a big game coming up against the Dolphins, and I guess all things considered, the bye week came at the right time. How did you enjoy the week off from Steelers football?
I didn't. I literally did all school stuff, and then I really wasn't even able to watch any NFL for the most part for the week. I literally had to do so much school stuff. So the bye week came at a perfect time for me as well.
Well, with that being said, the Steelers' bye week ended in poor fashion for one player, that, of course, being Anthony Chickillo. That's the big news to get into. Chickillo was placed on the commissioner's exempt list on Wednesday after he was arrested and charged with 3 separate misdemeanors over the weekend that stemmed from an incident that involved his girlfriend. I forget exactly what the details were. I should have looked it up. I forget what it was. I believe something like he shoved her or something like that. At least that's what's alleged to have been in the police report. Chickillo was told to not report to the team's facility on Monday and has not been there all week. With Chickillo no longer counting on the Steelers' active roster, the Steelers re-signed J-Ron Elliott, who they cut a couple weeks ago, prior to the Chargers game to make room for quarterback Paxton Lynch. And then interesting news, which got Steelers Nation in a bit of a frenzy, the New York Giants put outside linebacker Tuzar Skipper on waivers by releasing him. This, of course, Skip being the same Skipper that the Steelers had in the preseason and accrued, I believe, 5 sacks, which is the most the Steelers player had ever had in the preseason, at least as far back as we could tell. And he was released by the Giants and could have been claimed. Would have made sense given the Steelers' lack of depth at outside linebacker, but ultimately the Steelers chose to not claim him and just went with Elliott instead. Skipper has since signed on with the Giants practice squad. So first, let me get your thoughts on Chickillo, and then we'll get into the J-Ron Elliott, Tuzar Skipper part of the show.
So really, it's a simple equation. To make millions of dollars, don't beat your girlfriend or don't beat women. Just don't. Like, it's so... I don't understand what goes into... Obviously, there's something that went into this. It's a personal argument. Whatever happened. But, like, it just seems so easy. Just don't hit people off the field. It's just how it be. I don't know. It's so stupid. I mean, Chickillo was already kind of falling out of favor with, I feel like, fans for the most part, because when Tuzar Skipper got cut originally, there was a lot of backlash about him and that his special teams abilities weren't even the greatest. And that came from me. I even said that his special teams wasn't even anything to die for. But regardless, now it's gonna be tough. It's obviously innocent until proven guilty, but it seems like this is he is guilty for this stuff, and it's gonna be rough. In the league we're in now, it's just not something that is going to be like, it's not taken lightly anymore. It's not like, oh, we move on from this. So, and especially since he's a fringe player, it's probably going to end up with Chickillo being cut, but I guess we'll see. What are your thoughts on the matter?
Fringe players are made examples of by the NFL. That's how it works.
Exactamente, my friend.
And even if he manages to get out of this unscathed, I'd be surprised. I think he was trending towards being cut anyway, because I think he's set to make $5 million next year. I think that he would have been cut anyways.
Yeah, you definitely need to open up that cap room for someone else, especially with how the Steelers are really pressed for cap this next year. It's going to be rough having that for a guy that's just kind of a rotational piece and maybe a special teams player.
At the very best, you'd be asking him to take a pay cut, and I I don't really see Anthony Chickillo as part of the Steelers' plans moving forward. But at the same time, they really have to address his position in the draft with limited draft capital now. But that's a problem for another day. For now, let's get into the Skipper Elliott debate, if you will. Now, I know that we all were frustrated when Tuzar Skipper was cut by the Steelers at the start of the season to make room for Johnny Holton, but do you have a problem with the Steelers going with Elliott and not putting in a claim on Skipper? I'm not so frustrated about it, more so as I'm just kind of surprised that they didn't even put a claim in on him.
Probably people are going to be surprised by this, but I actually was more than okay with Elliott. I think Elliott made more sense at the end of the day. Like, when Skipper got cut, of course, I wanted him to come back. I immediately called John when it happened. I was like, our Skipper's ready and available. But regardless, I don't even rule him not coming back eventually. But Elliott makes more sense here, and here's why. Elliott got meaningful regular season snaps, not just on special teams. We've seen Elliott play defense in games this year. He's gotten to play meaningful snaps with the Steelers in the regular season. Tuzar Skipper has not. He's been with the Giants for quite a few weeks now, so even months. But it's just I feel like Elliott made more sense, and Skipper's there for the taking. If there's an injury, maybe Daney gets hurt, maybe Jaron Elliott gets hurt. Tuzar Skipper.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. All you have to do, you can claim him whenever you want.
Exactly. He's sitting on the practice squad. You could sign him to your active roster and be just as confident. And this basically, I feel good about this. I know that Skipper is there if the Steelers want him still, which honestly the Giants are probably a little bit worried about that at the least. I mean, he went unclaimed, but still, I think I'm not ruling out Skipper coming back later. I definitely am not as mad as when Skipper initially got cut for Johnny Holton. It's just, this is different circumstances, and I like Jaron Elliott's experience here, getting to play with the Steelers and know their playbook already, you know?
Yeah, the difference is I feel more comfortable with a guy like Jaron Elliott than I would whoever, I know it's apples and oranges, but whoever the ninth offensive lineman would be after Fred Johnson. And the fact is, it's a lot easier to reacquire Tuzar Skipper than it would be Fred Johnson, because I have a feeling the Bengals aren't going to let him out of their grasp.
Yeah, no, that makes 100% sense, because the Bengals really need offensive linemen, and if the Steelers thought an offensive lineman was worth holding on to for at least a little while, the Bengals are going to need that guy.
Mm-hmm. So it's just, it is what it is. It's the nature of the NFL and the back end of the roster. There's this constant turnover, and I wouldn't be surprised to see Skipper get called up to the Giants again this year, and also, cut again. And I wouldn't be surprised if there was an injury at outside linebacker. The Steelers signed him to the roster next week or something. It's the nature of the back end of the roster at this time of the NFL season.
100%. Like I said, I'm not ruling out Skipper even coming back. If an injury happens, I expect him to be the first guy on the phone, if I'm being honest.
Indeed. So, because the Steelers were on a bye, we didn't really do much. We did have our brief pick'em section last week. You want to run through last week's games briefly?
Maybe later. Just we'll do. I think we should do that at the end.
Okay, then that sounds good.
But yeah. So we'll go into the injury report first. I'll handle that. So, starting with the Steelers, Mason Rudolph is out of concussion protocol, and he was a full participant in practice on Thursday and Friday. We're recording this on Friday, by the way. I don't know if we mentioned that, so we do not have Saturday's final designation. James Washington, who was expected to be out a month with his shoulder injury, was a full participant in practice on Thursday and Friday, so he's probably good to go. Juju Smith-Schuster had the flu on Thursday, and I mean, he still has the flu, but did not participate. But he was a full participant on Friday, and he is expected to play. Steven Nelson, who got hurt with a groin injury, was a full participant on Thursday and Friday. Joe Hayden also had a groin injury in the Chargers game, and he was a full participant Thursday and Friday. Mark Barron with a hamstring was a full participant Thursday. This is really rough for me to say. This is a whole mouthful. But was downgraded to a limited participant on Friday. I don't know if he suffered a setback or if they, instead of giving him a veteran day off since they're coming out the bye, they're just lowered his workload a little bit, but we'll have to see on Saturday. It's not the biggest loss in the world if he can go anyway, but just something to monitor. Mike Hilton with a calf injury was a full participant on Thursday and Friday. Just sort of surprising, Jalen Samuels with his knee was a full participant Thursday and Friday. Despite that, he's not expected to play, being only 2 weeks removed from surgery. But there is a chance. There is a chance that he does play just coming out the surgery. I wouldn't rush him back, but, I mean, if he really wants to play, who's to stop him? Just impressively quick comeback for him. Rosie Nix, knee injury, also exciting. Full participant on Thursday and Friday. He's expected to make his returns, his first return since week 1. Vance McDonald with his shoulder injury that's been nagging him is a full participant on Thursday and Friday. TJ Watt, he has an abdomen injury. He was a limited participant on Thursday, but he was full on Friday. He is still not 100%. He said so himself, so there's a chance he does not play, but it's looking like it's trending towards he will. Ola Dady got first team snaps early on because they were practicing before they had to release their injury report and stuff like this. They were practicing on Wednesday, and that's when Ola Dady got first team snaps. So just watch out for that. And I just wanted to mention to wrap up Steelers, James Conner was not even on the injury report this week, despite exiting the Chargers game in the fourth quarter with his quad injury. So he is more than fine. So if you thought that was a lot, the Dolphins is basically even worse, if I'm being honest. So we're going to try and run through this quickly. Shaq Calhoun's okay. He had an illness and was limited Thursday. He didn't have a designation on Friday. Jesse Davis, their guard tackle with an elbow, has been full all week. Jakeem Grant with his hamstring has been full all week. Trent Harris, the linebacker, had a foot injury that's kept him limited Thursday and Friday. He might be out. Xavier Howard, a big one. He has got a knee injury, kept him limited on Thursday and Friday. Still, though, on Wednesday, he said he was playing on Monday night. So I do expect him to play, even though he's limited. Rashad Jones has a chest injury. He did not participate Thursday or Friday. He is not expected to be ready for this game. Daniel Kilgore, their center, has a knee injury. He did not participate Thursday or Friday. He is also not expected to play. Chris Lamons, the quarterback, has an ankle and toe injury. It's kept him limited all week. Bobby McCain, the safety, has a shoulder injury. It's kept him limited all week. Avery Moss, the defensive end, has an ankle injury. It's kept him limited all week. Josh Rosen had a neck injury. It was kept him limited on Thursday, but he's good. A full participant on Friday in case Ryan Fitzpatrick goes down. He should be there. Jamarcus Webb, the tackle, has a shin injury, but he's been full all week. Ken Webster had an illness. He was limited on Thursday, but he didn't have a designation on Friday, and he is good. Albert Wilson with his hip injury is expected to play. Was full all week. Nick Needham, the quarterback, had a foot injury in practice on Thursday, and he was a full on Friday, so he's expected to be available if necessary as well. So all of that jumble, that was the entire injury report for both teams. Very long injury report, especially for one of the teams.
Take a breather, man.
Yeah,
Take a breather.
Exactly. It's for a team coming off a bye week, and there's just a lot of injuries to list. I mean, granted, a lot of them are kind of phantom because, I mean, there's a lot of full participations, but, you know, that was a lot.
No one's 100% at this time of year, but at least from the Steelers' perspective, we shouldn't be surprised about guys like Mason Rudolph coming back at full strength, and Steven Nelson. You know, Nelson had a groin injury. The natural progression of a muscle injury like that seems to be going pretty well. Rudolph out of concussion protocol now. It's nice to see guys like James Washington and Roosevelt Nix get back into the flow of things here. This would be Roosevelt Nix. The first snaps he plays at fullback this year will be his first snaps at fullback all year. He hasn't had a chance to play any fullback, getting injured so early in the season. I'm feeling he's going to be ready to meet some people in the hole this week.
I'm excited, dude. I've missed Roosevelt Nix and all he does. I'm very excited. I bet James Conner is even more excited.
James Conner is excited. He said that he is. And let me ask you, do you think that they're going to be putting him on a bit of a snap count on offense, or do you think they're going to just use him actively in this game? Because I have a feeling that with that extra week, he's going to be raring to go, and I think they could use him, maybe 20 snaps in this game.
I feel like active. I mean, since I feel like he doesn't even get that many snaps normally, so I feel like he's going to be just active on whatever snaps they feel like they want to give him.
No, he normally plays about 10, and we'll get into this later with the Dolphins defense, but they're mostly a smaller and faster group, so I feel like this would be a game where you could benefit by running downhill at them, which would be a prime Roosevelt Knicks type of game. And another guy who would benefit from, a downhill physical ground game is having a guy like Vance McDonald back. He's still been bothered by that shoulder injury he suffered against, I think, either the Seahawks or the 49ers, so he's still banged up, but has been playing through it. And the Jalen Samuels injury, I, too, am surprised that he might be able to play this week. They still said week 9 would be his likely return date, but I'm still kind of surprised that he's practiced in full at this point, being just 2 weeks removed from surgery. And you said you don't think he plays, right?
I don't think so, but I don't know, man. I don't know what these players are taking on the side, but they're supermen, really. I think because I see Jalen Samuels and you see Patrick Mahomes. Just to go off track for 1 second, Patrick Mahomes was a limited participant on practice 5 days after he dislocated his knee, dude. How does that happen? How is Jalen Samuels less than 2 weeks away from a knee surgery and full participant on Thursday and Friday? I don't get it, man. These people have superpowers or something.
Well, I think if we don't see Trey Edmonds cut by the Steelers by tomorrow, I think that's going to be a telling sign that Samuels is going to be deactivated.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. I think they should keep him out for a week. I mean, he still needs to recover from it, even if he thinks he's ready and he has been practicing. You don't want him to get more hurt. You could just really screw up your knee that way by playing on it when it's not fully ready. So I think keeping Samuels out for another week is good. I'm happy with what Snell showed last week, and I have a lot of faith in Trey Edmonds. So.
Beyond that, it looks like James Washington and Juju Smith-Schuster will be a go. TJ Watt has an oblique injury, and it looks like he'll be able to go, but he might not be able to go at the full rate of snaps that he's used to seeing. And with Chicolo now being out of the picture, that would mean significant snaps for the first time in the career of Ola Sunkame-Adeni. Are you excited?
I am excited. I am ready to. I couldn't have asked for a better. He couldn't have asked for a better debut. This is a really good game to show your colors. You get to. It's a game where I'm saying this now, and I'm probably going to eat my words later. But it's a game where you could run up the score and use these guys because this is as easy as it gets for the most part. I mean, there's worse offensive lines in the league, but I mean the Dolphins is still pretty bad and pretty banged up. So if you're trying to get Ola Adeni snaps and he's trying to prove that he could he could replace Chicolo and be in that rotation, this is the game to do it. So I am excited to see Ola Adeni in this game.
And then just looking briefly at the Dolphins injury report I mentioned to you before we started recording here, the Miami Dolphins have, I believe, 10 offensive linemen on their roster, 9 or 10, and there are 4 of them that are rookies. Due to injuries, they could be they could end up playing 3 or 4 or all 4 of those rookies at one time, depending on how the injury report plays out at the end of the week. I mean, it's not trending that way, but it could happen, which, it's been a bad offensive line, and we know that continuity is the key for success on an offensive line, and that's something that the Dolphins have had it's been non-existent for them. It's been like the 08 Steelers where they were constantly shuffling offensive linemen in and out. But in this case, it's just even worse, and that's the clear weakness of an offense that's already terrible.
Can you even say they have a strength, though? I feel like their entire offense is just a giant weakness.
I mean, it has, but at least I guess it's a little unfair, and I guess we can kind of just segue into the preview, I guess, at this point. We can talk a little bit about the series history in a little bit here, but let's just segue real quickly right into the offense for the Miami Dolphins. I guess the one thing you can hang your hat on is that there's pedigree at the quarterback position. You've got a former first-rounder in Josh Rosen. You've got a proven veteran in Ryan Fitzpatrick. The skill position guys are at least guys that you've heard of. The offensive line, not that you would know of offensive linemen before you'd hear about receivers or anything, but I would have no confidence in this group, at least with the receivers like Albert Wilson, Devontae Parker. These are names that I know. Kenyon Drake's not great, but Mark Walton's been a talented guy. He's been taking the lead for them lately as far as the running back goes. He's actually been out-carrying Drake lately.
Yeah, man, I saw he was doing good. It was probably a good pickup for them after the Broncos. The Bengals cut him after his arrest.
Well, the Bengals had a player who was arrested on their team. I'm shocked.
Yeah, dude. That's what Mark Walton was. He was arrested, then cut.
Do you think it's possible the Dolphins are also trying to not use Drake as much, since they might be trying to use him as trade bait this week?
I don't know. I don't like Drake. I think they genuinely just think that Mark Walton is better. I feel like he has been better. I thought Kenyon Drake was bad after last year. I was disappointed with how he played. So I don't know. I'm not a big Drake fan, so it could really go either way. Maybe they're sitting him to trade him, but this is the thing in my head. Kenyon Drake isn't worth anything. He plays a position that's not very valuable that you could find easily for cheap, and it's just, to me, he's not worth anything. But I guess to each their own on that issue.
They use all three running backs, but Walton's been the most effective, and Ballage has been the short yardage guy. I think we'll see all three of them on Monday night.
Oh, yeah, 100%. They're going to be using their rotation to try and get something going, see which one's going to be doing the best. Usually every dog has his day, and one of those guys are probably going to have at least a decent day, I feel like. Maybe just in terms of yards per carry, but still, yeah, they're going to be rotating all three.
At quarterback, we've seen this team be led by two different players. Of course, Ryan Fitzpatrick, who's the starter going into this game, a longtime veteran, has faced the Steelers, what is it, 7 times, I think?
7, and this is his 8th.
Yeah, so I was going to say, you had that stat listed. I forgot about that. So Fitzpatrick has seen his fair share of the Steelers' defense, and he's a grizzled veteran who's seen his share of good and bad teams, but it's been a rough year for him as well, but he's injected a little life into this offense. Josh Rosen, a guy I was rooting for going into this year, it's just, I hate to say it, but Ryan Fitzpatrick gives his team a better chance to win it week in and week out, just because of the fact that he is a veteran he's seen more stuff than Josh Rosen has, and when you're playing for a team that's this bad around you, it's just, it's clear that Rosen has no help, and Fitzpatrick at least can deal with it a little better than Rosen, and I think that's what separates them right now.
Yeah, Ryan Fitzpatrick, I think there's a reason he's been in the league for so long and sticks around, even though he's not the greatest, because he could come in, he could throw the ball downfield, he could be effective, and he knows a lot of veteran stuff. He could understand defenses at least a little bit more than a younger guy like Rosen would be, because he doesn't have the experience that Fitzpatrick does. It kind of doesn't make sense for the Dolphins. It kind of makes sense for them to start Rosen and just put him out in the fire, just like the Cardinals did, because it seems like they're tanking. But I mean, to try and win, Fitzpatrick is definitely their guy, at least for now.
Well, either way, their receiving options have not been that great this year. Tight end Mike Gesicki was considered the most athletic tight end coming out of the draft 2 years ago. He's been incredibly disappointing for them so far. And receivers Albert Wilson, Devontae Parker, Allen Hurns, Preston Williams, they're all decent pieces, but they all feel like number 3 receivers, not top-of-the-line guys. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I like Preston Williams, though. Preston Williams is an undrafted guy, and he's been doing pretty good. So he didn't have high expectations coming in, but I feel like he's done decently. I do still agree that he's still like a number 3 wide receiver at the moment, but I feel like he could, going forward, he could develop into something more. Devontae Parker, you know who he is. Albert Wilson, I've always been a fan of. And last year, I felt like he had a really good year, but this injury this year, the hip and I believe he had a hip and neck injury, I'm pretty sure, at the same time. They've really hindered him this year. He just got back last week to playing, so I don't know. Like I said, I still do agree that they're all kind of wide receiver 3s at the moment, but I do like some of those wide receiver 3s.
Top to bottom, this is the league's worst offense. They are tied for 31st in the league in points per game. They have just 10.5 per game. They're near they're bottom 2 in the league in yards per game, rushing yards per game, third to last in passing yards. They've given up 24 sacks, which is bottom 5th of the league. They've turned the ball over 13 times. There's nothing really redeeming about this offense enough to make you think that they'll be able to put up a significant amount of points and yards against the Steelers defense. that's rounded into form the last few weeks and has the bye week to cover for it. The only thing I could say is that Ryan Fitzpatrick has seen the Steelers defense a lot, but the counter argument to that would be this is the best Steelers defense he probably has seen in years.
Also, the Steelers are 7-0 all time against Ryan Fitzpatrick-led teams, so that doesn't really bode well at all. So, every single matchup that Ryan Fitzpatrick has had against the Steelers, he's lost. So I hope this isn't the first, but it doesn't look good in that way. And literally the only thing helping the Dolphins' offense is really just that they're a disciplined unit. That's going through all the stats. So we collect all the stats beforehand, before the podcast. The only thing that they're top, that we collect, top literally 25th in is penalties. They're really good at not getting penalties. They're third in the league with only 34. And they also have the third least penalty yards at 274. That's literally the only thing the Dolphins have going for them at all. Is that
it's meant so much for them, clearly.
Yeah, it's meant so much because, it's gotten them all those wins that they have. But that's literally all you could say about them, is that they're not going to shoot themselves in the foot in that regard. They're just going to be bad and shoot themselves in the foot that way. That's literally the only redeeming factor about this entire team, if I'm being honest.
So from the Steelers' perspective, this might be the most lopsided matchup for the defensive line, even without Stephon Tuitt. I mean, if you had Stephon Tuitt, I think it easily would be. But this might be the most lopsided matchup from offensive to defensive line that the Steelers' defense has had this year. I mean, these guys should eat these young offensive linemen alive.
Oh, it's not going to be pretty. Or it shouldn't be. This should be absolute massacre. They should leave this game and be like, we can't show this to people. It's just wrong. It's just wrong what happened to that offensive line. And that's what should be happening, because the Steelers are mismatched as heck here with all their pass rushers. I high-key just want them, just so many blitzes from, Vince Williams, because are any of those running backs going to be able to pick up Vince Williams? Probably not. Are any of them going to be able to block an injured TJ Watt? Maybe. Maybe just because he's injured and the oblique is like what you use to turn around the around the corner with, but I still think he gets 2 sacks here. It's just, I feel like this is a huge mismatch, and it should be pretty good for the Steelers pass rush in this game.
Ryan Fitzpatrick's been good about getting rid of the ball a lot faster the last few weeks, and he has played better because of it. But that being said, I think that makes things easier for the Steelers defensive backs, who should have another strong advantage over the Dolphins receivers that we just talked about. These guys can be dangerous if you miss some tackles, but if you're on the ball here, I don't think that it's going to pose too much of a problem. Fitzpatrick will test you deep a few times, but I like the way the Steelers defensive backs have played lately. And with Joe Hayden and Steven Nelson appearing to return to the lineup, I'm not really that scared about the Dolphins passing game. I know Devontae Parker has caught touchdowns in, I think, 3 straight games, but I'm not too worried. I think the Steelers defensive backs have a strong advantage here as well.
I agree with that. I believe that the matchups here are just very good. The biggest matchup I'm worried about is because all the wide receivers are kind of like the same. They're all speedy. So if I'm worried about anything, it's whoever's matched up with Joe Hayden. And it's not because I think Joe Hayden's bad or these guys are better than him. It's just the speed thing. I harp on this every time. I always worry about speed wide receivers against Joe Hayden because he's not as fast as he used to be. I don't blame him for that. He's still just as good, but that's what I worry about. And all these guys are burners. All 3 of them, Preston Williams, Albert Wilson, and Devontae Parker, they're all I run straight really good. They're all Johnny Holton style, except better. But regardless, so that worries me a bit, but it's still a mismatch in my opinion. The cornerbacks, as long as they're fully healthy and ready, are great. And even if if something surprising happens tomorrow, and I don't know, Mike Hilton can't go, I feel comfortable with Cameron Sutton coming in. I feel like Cameron Sutton did really well against the Chargers, so I would feel good about Cameron Sutton coming in to replace an injured cornerback. And I heard that he was getting more outside snaps in practice, which would be even better if he was actually doing good at that.
And then on the the inside, Devin Bush and Vince Williams look like they'll be going for the Steelers. We already talked about the Dolphins running backs. Any need to be worried about Mike Gesicki? I know he is super athletic, but he hasn't really produced much this year, and Ryan Fitzpatrick hasn't really thrown his way all that much.
Yeah, they haven't really been using the tight end, and I don't know if that's more on Gesicki or more on just that's not how Ryan Fitzpatrick rolls. I feel like it's more on Gesicki. When Fitzpatrick was a buck last year, he used O.J. Howard, but that's besides the point. It's just I don't feel concerned about their tight ends.
All right, so at the end of the day, if the Steelers give up more than 14 points, it's got to be considered a disappointment, right?
It really is. But I mean, it's a possibility. We both thought the Bills' defense was going to be able to hold the Dolphins to basically 0, because the Bills' defense has been great, and they put up almost 20 points on them. Or I think they did. I think they did put up 20 points
21,
on them.
right? Or, 2021, I think.
Something like that, yeah. So, I mean, anything can happen, I suppose, but to us, it's still a failure going over 14.
Well, remember, we were saying the same thing about the Raiders game last year, and the Steelers gave up 24 there, too. But let's not get into that right now.
Yeah.
So, all things... Well, I guess it is just the any given Sunday, or in this case, Monday thing. But the Dolphins have been playing better, and I'm not going to say that they've been good, but they have been more competitive lately.
Yeah.
On the other side of the ball... Not a whole lot of redeeming factors here either. In fact, I think you could argue the defense for the Dolphins may be even worse. They're giving up 35 points a game, over 415 yards a game, 160 on the ground. They've only picked up 7 sacks on the year and just 2 turnovers forced. They're only giving up 256 passing yards a game, which is good for 22nd. But you have to remember the teams are running on the Dolphins a lot late, and they don't need to throw the ball that much. So when you look at this defense, they run a 3-4. We've seen they do have some names. It looks like they could be getting Xavier Howard back, which would be a huge boost for them. Rashad Jones is a solid player. They've got a guy that you really liked in Rakewan McMillan from Ohio State a couple years ago. I'm sure you remember him. And they also have a nice defensive lineman, Christian Wilkins, from that geared Clemson defensive line last year. And they just traded for Taco Charlton, who's been not great, but a solid pass rusher, and they like to move him around on the edge. So, I mean, they still have some pieces here, but where do you want to go first?
I want to talk about their secondary, because if you could say they have a strength, I think it would be their secondary. It's only because they probably actually have a Pro Bowler there. It's like the only spot on the team where they might have one, and that's Xavier Howard, and he was limited practice both Thursday and Friday, but he should be returning. He said he's playing, and I believe him. And that's their best player on the entire team. That's their guy. That's who they got left as their best guy. Rashad Jones would be dope, and that's why I said their secondary is their strength, because they actually do have 2 good players, but Rashad Jones is not expected to play, so that hurts them immensely, and it's just I think that the wide receivers should have a good time here regardless. I think that the matchup between their defensive backs and the wide receivers is just going to be, besides whoever's Xavier Howard is covering, I'm going to assume it's Juju. I think everyone's going to have a day. I think James Washington should have a good day returning back. I think Deontay Johnson is going to actually have I think Deontay Johnson is going to have the biggest day out of the 3 starting wide receivers, if I'm being honest. But regardless, like I said, it's just Xavier Howard and Rashad Jones back there when they're healthy, but it's just Xavier Howard. This should be a slugfest for Mason Rudolph if he could just throw it downfield a little bit more. What do you think?
Yeah, I think I forget exactly what the stats say, but I think it's the quarterback completion percentage in thirds of the field are significantly higher in the middle, and I think the left, or I forget which side, it's whatever side Xavier Howard isn't on. So whatever side Howard is on, you don't need to go there as often. They just have holes anywhere where Howard isn't. So, I mean, you can still probably throw at Howard a few times in this game and not be too concerned. But, Eric Rowe's just a guy. I mean, he's an experienced player. I'm not trying to say he's terrible, but he's not great either. Bobby McCain is just, he's never impressed me too much. And they don't have Rashad Jones, and that's just another hole for them to try to patch up. Too many problems on the back end, minus Xavier Howard. He would be a huge boost, but even with him back, I'm not that worried. Hearing Randy Fichtner and Mason Rudolph talked this week, I think they really are preparing to unleash the deep ball. And when I say that, I don't mean necessarily airing it out 20 yards down the field 10 times a game, but at least more intermediate throws, that 10 to 15-yard area. I think we'll see a little more of that, and we'll see them take some more shots down the field with James Washington. I wouldn't be shocked if the first offensive play is a deep shot to either Washington or probably more likely Holton, because for some reason Johnny Holton gets those passes thrown his way more often. But I feel like that's how you can see the Steelers starting this game. And I think even with the Steelers' struggles on offense this year in the deep passing game, I think that they'll be able to get some explosive plays this week. And we've seen that the Dolphins are prone to giving up those types of big plays too.
Yeah, if there's a place to do it, this is one of them. I mean, like you said, they give up 256.5 passing yards per game. If they were more competitive, they would probably give up way more. Like you said, the teams are basically by the end of the game, by the fourth quarter, are just rushing on them. They're just trying to get the game done with. Granted, it was competitive in the Bills game for a little while, but longer than normal anyway. But still, it's just they're not good against the run either. So like teams are just running from the beginning too, and just they're being effective. So I think this pass defense is almost overrated at 22nd. It's weird saying that, but I feel like if they were a more competitive team, at least like on offense, that they'd probably rank closer to 28th or 29th or 8, maybe even like the last 3 spots. So I do think that this is like, I think you could do whatever you want with this team. This team is not gonna. This team's just gonna let you do whatever you want. Is how I view it.
And kind of working backwards to the front here, I think that the deep pass is going to be set up by a downhill and aggressive running game. We already talked about Roosevelt Nixon, James Conner returning back healthy, maybe Jalen Samuels as well. I think the big weakness for this Dolphins team is their front seven. And not that the linebackers themselves are a weakness, because they are athletic players like Bertillon McMillan. But have you looked at their 4 starters, Charles Harris, Jerome Baker, McMillan, and Sam Iguavoen? Iguavoen, I believe is how you say his name. All those guys, I think there's just one of those players is over 250 pounds. These are smaller, athletic, safety-type hybrids. I'd run downhill at them. I'd pull DeCastro. I'd try to hit these guys early and often. And I think you can move these guys, and they won't want any part of James Conner later in the game. And up front, the only guy that would concern me is Christian Wilkins in the run game, because he is a big guy. I mean, if he gets himself ejected on the second play of the game, that certainly helps. And Taco Charlton's just a decent pass rushing guy. He's not that much right now.
Yeah, I don't even like Taco Charlton. I don't think he's good. He was lazy with the Cowboys, and I'm not a big fan of his. Christian Wilkins, I am. Christian Wilkins is dope. I think he's a really good player. But I still think, like you said, the rushing attack is going to be strong here. They don't have the big enough guys to handle a Rosie Nix and stuff like that, and the blockers pulling. This should be a really good game for. I feel like the guards are going to get pancakes. I feel like Fichtner's going to have a lot of pulling in this game, and you're just going to see Dolphins defenders on the ground as David DeCastro smashes like them backward. And you'll see like James Conner get a 20-yard gain off of something like that. I'm expecting a lot of that in this game. Maybe not a lot of 20-yard gains, but a good amount of 9, 8+ yard gains in this game from pulling guards and stuff like that.
Yeah, the Steelers or the Dolphins have been prone to give up explosive plays on the ground too. This should be a game where we see a good amount of Zach Banner, Nick Vannett, and Vance McDonald. A lot of those. Some 22 personnel. We'll see a lot of heavier sets in this game, I believe.
Yeah, I think that works out. I think that it's going to be good to see a little bit more of Vance McDonald, get him involved a little bit more. I feel like he hasn't really been involved since his 2 touchdown game early on. But regardless, I think he'll come up here, and Vannett Vanette's been pretty quiet, but he's the number 2 tight end, so I'm not expecting him to do a lot. But here might be a good place to start for him as well to get a few more catches in.
So all that being said, I think the Steelers are going to kind of come out with a similar game plan to what they started with last week, and they'll try to get the ground game going, and then they'll eventually use play action off of that. And I think you'll start to see them hit some big games. I have no reason to think the Steelers shouldn't be able to hit some big plays in this one, finally get over that hump. And I think that we'll see this offense be able to. I think 4 touchdowns should not be out of the realm of possibility.
Not at all. I mean, you're looking at a team that's giving up 35.2 yards per game. Granted, I know that they're the worst in turnover differential. I don't know how many pick sixes or fumble sixes they've given up to affect that. But you're still looking at a team that you should be able to put a bunch of points on regardless of how you look at it. 4 touchdowns is not out of the question at all.
So, that being said, I mean, my goodness, even with the Steelers shorthanded, undermanned, and without Ben Roethlisberger, this looks to be the Steelers should be able to win in blowout fashion at home, right?
It does appear that way, I would say, yes.
Okay. Before we put a bow on the Steelers-Dolphins game on Monday night, let's take a look back. Do you want to take a look back now at Week 7, and then we'll take a look ahead to Week 8?
Sounds good to me. So we went over Thursday that was the Chiefs at Broncos, where the Chiefs blew them out 30-6. Going to the first slate of games, we have the Rams at Falcons. The Falcons are who we thought they were, and got blown out 37-10. The Falcons are just a team that makes any team look good. That's how it be. Do you have anything to say about that game?
Someone tweeted that the Falcons are a get-right team, so if you've got something wrong, they'll fix it for you, and I think that's the perfect description for them.
Yeah, that's definitely about right. The Rams were trending downwards, and then they just came back and blew them out, so it makes sense. Alluded to it earlier, the Bills kept it really close with the Dolphins. They were even losing to them for quite a while. Going into halftime, the Dolphins were up 14-9, I believe. Yeah, 14-9.
That was halftime, yep.
So they ended up winning 31-21 with Micah Hyde onside recovery touchdown at the end, where they scored 22 points in that fourth quarter to make the comeback. But it was very close. I'd be disappointed if I was a Bills fan, especially with how their defense has been so good. To give up 3 touchdowns to the Dolphins is pretty dang bad. But do you have anything to say about that game?
The Dolphins had 5 offensive touchdowns going into that game, and they scored 3 on the day. So not the best showing from the Bills, but they were coming off the bye week, and apparently maybe not entirely as focused as they should have been, but they were able to get away with this one. So they'll consider themselves lucky. Yeah,
man. Jaguars and Bengals. I remember this specifically. I said I'd take the Jaguars by 10 points, and they won by 10 points. The Jaguars won 27-17. I didn't actually get to see much of this game. It was close going to halftime in this one too, which wasn't super surprising to me. I felt like the Bengals were going to keep it somewhat closer, but early on. But eventually, the Jaguars just pulled away in the second half. Again, another team that came alive in the fourth quarter and scored 18 there.
Yeah, that was a close game later on, but pick 6 I think Andy Dalton threw like 3 interceptions on 5 passes in like a 3-minute span or something. That was obviously the big difference. So the Bengals are horrible and are competing with the Dolphins for the Tank Bowl.
Yes, they are. That week, I believe, 15 matchup just looks more and more exciting. That's the thing when the Bengals versus the Dolphins, but not sure. But moving on to the next game, the Vikings, the Lions. Vikings win 42-30 in a pretty high-scoring shootout. This is another game I did not watch, but Stephon Diggs has been on fire lately, and as much as I hate to see it, Kirk Cousins has actually been doing pretty well as well. I don't know I haven't watched the Vikings game since Kirk Cousins has gotten better, but I don't know if it's him or if it's just the wide receivers and stuff making him look good, but who knows. Also, Dalvin Cook went off in that game for 142 yards and 2 touchdowns. But yeah, have anything to say about this game?
Did you know that between this game and the game last night with the Vikings, Stephon Diggs had exactly 7 receptions for 143 yards and no touchdowns in both games?
Really? That's kind of crazy.
Yeah, it's pretty wild, isn't it?
Yeah, just like doubled his stats, just like that.
Yeah, just boom, boom, right there. That's pretty nice. Yeah, not a lot of defense played in this one. I still hold that the Vikings won the game because the Lions had a tie and didn't win in week 1. Otherwise, the Lions would have been above 500, and therefore the Vikings would have lost. You
make a good argument there. Kirk Cousins doesn't win big games. But
so I'm still, I got to say he has impressed me over the last 3 weeks, but, I'm not going to change my thoughts on him, or I'm not going to say I'm wrong about him until I see him do this in, December.
Exactly. He's got to win those big games for us to believe in him. And I don't think I'm ever going to believe in him, but regardless. Packers at Raiders. Aaron Rodgers, 6 touchdowns on the day, 5 passing, 1 rushing. Absolutely threw all over the Raiders, which was super unexpected. I think when we were previewing this, I said it was all about the running backs. I was wrong. Marcus Valdez-Scantling ended up playing, and I didn't expect that to happen. And he only had 2 catches, but his stat line was 2 catches for 133 yards and a touchdown. Both of those catches were gigantic. The Packers obviously ran away with this game. But honestly, the Raiders looked competitive for about a half, so I guess that's something.
This game was pretty exciting for a while. The game turned on a Derek Carr fumble when he was diving for the pylon and fumbled out of the end zone. He had a play just like that 2 years ago against the Cowboys, too. It was like the exact same, almost like a replay sort of deal. But the Packers took off after that, and Josh Jacobs, he did come back, but he was not as effective. He banged up his shoulder. I can't believe that's the first time Aaron Rodgers had a perfect passer rating in a game.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy to think about. I mean, especially when you think about earlier on how everyone talked about his efficiency and how he didn't throw picks at all. Kind of crazy.
If he keeps playing like this, I think there's a legit chance that the Packers will win the Super Bowl. This is the first time they've had a complete team like that since they won the Super Bowl.
Yeah, exactly. Now they have a defense. They have their offense that's going to get back to Vontae Adams after this week. Damn, bro. That team's just going to get better. But anyhow. Colts at Texans. Colts win 30-23 off of Jacoby Brissett career-high 4 touchdown passes. People got to start hopping on the Jacoby Brissett train, dude. Jacoby Brissett is a great quarterback. No, okay, maybe not great. Great is a little bit of over-exaggeration, but he's a very good quarterback. And he should be considered top 15 if he's not already for most people. And I consider him probably top 12. So, yeah, man. I'm just going to keep spreading the Jacoby Brissett love.
I was going to say, we already jumped on the hype train. So, train's left the station. Anyone else who wants to jump on, now would be the time. That was an impressive win, but that's a collective unit with a solid win over the Texans. Tell you what, it's going to be interesting when these 2 teams play again later in the year in Houston. But right now, it looks like it's the Colts division, I think.
Yeah, it seems like it, but the Texans and Colts are definitely going to be battling it out. Moving on to Cardinals and Giants. Cardinals won 27-21. The biggest news story I got from this is that they said that David Johnson was going to play, and then he rushed for the first rush of the game, and then never came back. And then the Cardinals were like, we just wanted to use him in emergency situations. So apparently the first run play of the game was an emergency situation for the Cardinals. It definitely pissed off a good amount of fantasy fans. So that was fun to see. All the David Johnson owners bug out. But other than that, this game was pretty good only for Kyler Murray. I didn't really. I watched a little bit of this game, but I wasn't a big fan. And obviously, you looked at Chase Edmonds a few years ago, and he's been done really well when David Johnson's been hurt.
Yeah, he had 3 touchdowns, and it's going to be a popular waiver wire ad this week.
Yep, because David Johnson is a game time decision. But anyhow, the slip and slide bowl. 49ers at Redskins. 49ers win 9-0 in a game where offense wasn't there because of bad field conditions and just rain everywhere. There were some good rushers. I thought Adrian Peterson did well in this game, but it wasn't enough. They couldn't get any points on the board, and 49ers win 9-0, and they kept it close.
The Redskins should be thankful that it was pouring like that, because if the conditions were better, this would have been 50-0. My goodness. How frustrating is it that they were 1 point off covering?
Yeah, that really does suck, and you hate to see it. But, I think I picked the 49ers, the Redskins plus the points, so I think I did good. Anyhow, Titans and Chargers, this game, This is probably the game I watched the most of, and it was such a ridiculous and weird ending. Titans win 23-20. The Chargers are driving downfield for their last drive. There's about 37 seconds left, and they're 15 yards away from getting a touchdown. They complete it to Austin Eckler. Touchdown. Called back. Refs say he was short. It looked like it. I agreed. Okay. Moving on. Chargers go to throw. Let's see. I think there was a 10-second runoff after they reversed the Austin Eckler run. Yeah, there was a 10-second runoff. So now we're down to like 27 seconds. Now they go to throw. It's an incompletion to someone on the left side, and they throw again. Incompletion again. This time it gets a pass interference on Malcolm Butler. New set of downs. First down. They try running. They say touchdown. Reverse it again. Melvin Gordon doesn't get the touchdown. It's reversed. 10-second runoff again, and we're down to 17 seconds. Melvin Gordon rushes again. Looks like he's not over, and then he fumbles. And then Jarrell Casey just runs away with the ball, and then there's just the refs standing around for like 20 minutes. The ending of this game was absolutely drawn out. The last 37 seconds were so terrible and annoying. It's just, I felt like I was waiting there forever just to figure out what happened. The Chargers really, really blew it right at the end. I mean, Melvin Gordon's definitely not liked by the Chargers organization right now, and Chargers fans at all. After the hold down, and then he's come back and played poorly. So it's not been good. You have anything to say about this game?
Why did you watch this game?
It was, so this is how it works, right? I'm at work while this game is on, and NFL mobile app lets you watch.
Yep.
It picks your games. For some reason, Reddit NFL streams doesn't really work on my phone anymore. So while this does, so that was the only football I could watch. So I took it, and then I also had Melvin Gordon in fantasy. So I'm sitting there like, oh yeah, free touchdown at the end of the game, yay! And then he fumbled at the end of the game instead. I was pissed off, but you know.
That was the one game of the week I was like, I feel like I could watch none of it to be okay. Oddly enough, just because I don't know, the Titans are just one of those teams. But we spent too much time talking about a weird game that had a very bizarre ending. One game that I thought was one that I probably could not have watched would have been the Bears and Saints game. And my God, what a horrible offense the Bears have. Are they? I think. Were you the one? Someone told me. I think you said that they were the only ones that don't have 200 yards of offense in a game yet, or something.
I didn't say that, but I would believe it. It makes sense because they're really bad on offense.
Oh man, they put up 25 points, but don't let that fool you. I think they had like 10 through 3.5 quarters.
You're exactly right. They scored 15 in the fourth quarter, and they recovered an onside kick. So you know.
The first of the year, but mind you, I'm glad that the first converted onside kick of the year was wasted in this game.
Hell yeah, brother. You love to see it. But after this game, the Seahawks got to disappoint us. It was great. The Ravens won 30-16. The Seahawks just failed. There's really no other way to say it. They couldn't contain Lamar Jackson at all. He rushed 14 times for 160 yards and a touchdown. And I mean, they just couldn't stop him. It's like no team can figure out how to stop Lamar Jackson, it feels like. And I mean, on the other side, they were able to stop Russell Wilson. We saw LJ Fort make a pretty solid open field tackle in this game, if you watched, for the Ravens. And, that kind of pissed off a lot of Steelers fans because you just wonder why LJ Fort didn't, start over Sean Spence, But that's besides the point. Did you watch this game?
I watched portions of it, and, it was a bad time for the Seahawks to play their worst game of the season, and Russell Wilson threw a terrible interception. But that being said, I also want to give the Ravens credit. They played very well. It wasn't a perfect performance, but they did what they had to do to win in a tough environment, and I really didn't see this happening. They are a better team than I thought they were. That being said, I still am not super convinced right now, but they have the biggest lead of any division leader in the NFL. So, I mean, we should be worried about them right now.
Yeah. Moving on to Sunday Night Football. What a blowout. Oh, my God. The Cowboys win 37-10, and it's not even close. There is no fight in that Eagles team at all. I remember watching, immediately going to my group chat, because Nelson Aguilar has a perfect ball thrown to him. I guess not perfect, but just thrown a little bit to his left, and he showed no effort to go and get it down late in the fourth quarter. It would have been a touchdown. Any other wide receiver, that's a touchdown. But
I just want to point out that Justin Hunter ended his Steelers career diving for a pass that would have been a huge catch like that. I don't care if Nelson Aguilar is more talented than Justin Hunter. I'd take Justin Hunter on my team over him because I know Hunter will at least try to go get that ball. As soon as I saw, because I've seen Aguilar do this for weeks now, I'd have cut his ass.
Yeah, he's bad, and he should feel bad, like, for real. Like, it was terrible. Watching it real time, there's no fight in this Eagles team, and they're sort of, their whole locker room is blowing apart piece by piece. Just, like, broke after this game that Alshon Jeffrey was talking smack about his quarterback, how Carson Wentz not a good leader. We saw that story in the summer, but it was an unnamed source, and now it's confirmed to be Alshon Jeffrey. Orlando Skandrick gets cut and immediately says Malcolm Jenkins is a bad leader. And there's just a lot of internal turmoil with the Eagles. Seems like not a lot is going right with them right now. And it's not over for them in the slightest. They might have got blown out, but they versus the Cowboys again. They got to win some games here. They really do. And they could still be in this, but right now they're falling apart.
Yeah, they got problems and they got to figure stuff out fast. They can, but this is obviously where they're at the crossroads now.
Yep. And now moving on to Monday Night Football, which was somehow worse. Patriots and Jets. The Jets might have the worst offense in the league. I have no idea how. And they're fighting with the Dolphins for it. I have no idea how they look so bad, but they do. Sam Darnold. I'm gonna let you take over for this game because I feel like you have the most to say about it.
Yeah, just because I was playing the Patriots defense in a fantasy week, and Sam Darnold handed them a victory when I thought I was in good position to win because he could not stop giving them the ball. So yeah, that was very frustrating. I really thought after beating the Cowboys that this was going to be a Jets team that, all right, things are better now. We know who we are. We've got our quarterback back, and yeah, they looked a lot more like the Jets team that we saw weeks 1 through 4 or 1 through 6 or whatever. Or 1 through 5, sorry. It's been a ride with the Jets, and now that win over the Cowboys looks like an aberration instead. But I'm hoping it's just a case of playing maybe one of the best defenses in league history in the New England Patriots, who continue to impress with another shutout. They have 2 on the season and could finish with more. But yeah, a terrible night from Sam Darnold. He said he saw ghosts on the field, and my goodness, he kept throwing to him.
Yeah, man, that was a pretty rough game, but that really wraps up last week, so now we're ready to go into this week?
Yep.
All right, so starting with Thursday Night Football, we didn't officially make our predictions, at least I don't think. Did you write on Twitter that you made your prediction?
I didn't know.
Okay, so Redskins... Yeah, Redskins and Vikings, we texted each other. Vikings were 15.5-point favorites. John picked the Vikings to cover. I picked the Redskins plus 15.5. The Redskins did keep it close in that game, and were able to just do enough to not get blown out. And it looks like the Vikings.
I had a sneaky feeling this was going to be a close game, but I just decided to ignore my gut. And the Redskins put up a good fight, but when Case Keenum went down, I like Dwayne Haskins. I don't like him that much. He's clearly not ready, and that was the biggest problem coming out of the draft was his lack of experience at the college level, and it's showing here. He's not ready yet, and that's a dumpster fire of an organization. And I think what I've seen with guys like Haskins and Josh Rosen, more so than ever, having a good system will make or break a guy more so than anything else. Like, obviously, talent's huge, but I'm just, a lot of people talk about what if Alicky Smith went to the Eagles and Andy Reid instead of Donovan McNabb, would the roles have been reversed? I'm starting to buy into that more and more, that the system and organization will really help or break a guy.
Oh, I agree with that 100%. I think that the system and the offense the team runs and stuff, it all plays a factor to how a quarterback's to do. And the Redskins are just a dumpster fire, so really any quarterback you put there might have failed. Maybe if Patrick Mahomes went to the Redskins on some freak accident because they weren't really looking for a quarterback yet, he would suck there too. It's just I don't know, man. It's all I agree wholeheartedly that it's a big deal where a player goes, but. Moving on to the games that haven't happened yet, we have the 1 p.m. slot games. Seahawks at Falcons. For some reason, the ESPN had them at 4.5. We're not going to do 4.5 because I looked at that and laughed. We're going to do another line. That we're going to do my bookie's line at 7. So Seahawks are favored by 7 points in this game at the Falcons. Who you got here?
I'd still take the Seahawks even if it was 20. They lost by 27 to a Rams team that I don't think is as good as this Seahawks team. And I know it's, I don't know, man. I think I'm shocked Dan Quinn hasn't been fired yet, but I think this is going to be his last game because I think they're going into their bye week next week. So give me the Seahawks lay that 7 easily. Yeah,
I'm going to pick the Seahawks to cover too. When ESPN had it listed at 4.5, I laughed. This is still laughable. I would probably set this at double digits, but, I'll take Seattle minus 7. Moving on to the next game, Eagles at Bills. Eagles are falling apart, as I said. Who you got here?
Normally I'd take Philadelphia, but with the way the Eagles have played, they're struggling secondary, and I don't feel like the Eagles have much fight if they get down early, and the Bills are a team made to play with a lead. I think if the Bills go up by 2 scores here, they're winning, and they're cruising to another victory. I think the Bills are going to open up at 6-1 on the season. Give me the Bills to cover that 1.5.
I'm going to pick the Eagles plus 1.5 here. It's just mostly going on a whim. The Eagles are basically reeling, so they have one more game basically to pull it all together, in my mind. I mean, that's not real because they're not that far behind the Cowboys now. I mean, losing that head-to-head sucks, but they get another head-to-head later. I'm still going to pick the Eagles plus 1.5. I think that this is a game that they need to bounce back and win, so I'm going to pick them there. Chargers at Bears. Chicago's favored by 4.5 points. What do you got here?
This is a sneaky garbage game. The conventional wisdom would say you take the Hall of Fame caliber quarterback in Phillip Rivers over Mitch Trubisky, but I just think about this game down in the trenches. And we saw the Chargers get pushed around on both sides of the ball by the Steelers, and the Bears' defensive line is just going to absolutely crush this Chargers offensive line. I don't have much hopes for Phillip Rivers putting up a ton of points in Soldier Field. And say what you will about the Bears' pop gun offense, but they still managed to come away with 3 wins on the year with that. I don't even think the Bears are going to come away with a big offensive game, but I think they'll do enough to come away with a touchdown victory. So I'll take the Bears, lay that 4.5 for me.
I'm going to take the Chargers plus 4.5 with the idea that this is going to be a low-scoring game. I don't really have an idea who's going to win, but I feel like it's going to be a low-scoring affair that both teams don't really pull ahead of each other. So I'm going to pick the Chargers plus 4.5 in this game. Bengals at Rams. LA is being favored by 12.5 points. Who do you got here?
This feels like a sneaky, weird game because Zach Taylor, being the former assistant for Sean McVay, I got a weird feeling that this could be a closer game than people think. But that being said, I'm starting to think the players on the Bengals may be getting close to that point where they're going to be quitting on the coach, and you're staring down the barrel of an 0-8 team, and the Rams need this game. Even though it's a non-conference game, they need to keep pace with the Seahawks after the Seahawks lost last week. So they got to make up some ground, and I think they'll be able to win pretty handily. But I think it'll be closer than people think.
Yeah, I'm going to pick the Rams to cover here. I just think that the Bengals are a bad team, and it's not an interconference team, interconference matchup like you said. I'm just going to pick the Rams to cover here. I feel like they're the better team. Broncos at Colts. Colts are being favored by 6.5. What you got?
I'll take the Colts to cover. I've got a weird feeling about this game too, but the Broncos just lost their best pass catcher in Emmanuel Sanders. That team is starting to jettison players and prepare for 2020. So give me the Colts, who look to improve to 5-2 on the season.
I'm going to pick the Colts to cover as well. I just think the Broncos are a bad team, and they just got worse, like you said. So Colts covering there. Giants at Lions. Detroit is favored by 6.5. What you got?
I think the Lions get off the schneid here. They played well the last few weeks, but they ran into a buzzsaw last week. They had trouble with the officials the last couple weeks and just a few crucial mistakes. They're in these games, and the Giants, after a couple of solid games with Daniel Jones, have kind of regressed back to that bad team that we thought that they were. So I'll take the Lions cover and lay that 6.5 point spread.
I will too take the Lions to cover. I just think that they're the better team in this, and I feel like they're a really good team on paper. I mean, it's just like I feel like they've had some unfortunate circumstances come their way, but I feel like they're pretty close to being like 5-1. They're like pretty close to only having one loss and a win coming against the Chiefs, pretty close to that. So I would have picked the Lions to cover here with that in mind. Excuse me, I'm sorry. My voice is really starting to go now. Buccaneers at Titans. Titans are favored by 2.5 points in this game. What you got?
All right. Well, this is a game of two relatively unimpressive teams. Even though the Titans were able to come away with a win last week, I've never been a big Ryan Tannehill guy. I got a good feeling about either Chris Godwin or Mike Evans. One of those two guys usually goes off in a game like this. You can't really thread the needle here. You're basically picking who the winner is going to be. I think the Buccaneers are going to come away with a win on the road, and the Titans fall to a disappointing 3-5.
I happen to agree with you there. I think the Buccaneers are going to win this game and win it pretty good. I think that the Bucs are actually the better team in this, surprisingly. And there's a chance that Jason Pierre-Paul makes his return in this game. So the Bucs are going to get a little bit better. So I went into the Buccaneers plus 2.5 in this game. Cardinals at Saints. New Orleans is favored by 9.5. The Saints are mum on which quarterback is going to be their starting quarterback. Drew Brees is supposed to be back this week, but they didn't say if he was 100% ready. They didn't name a starting quarterback. Both Brees and Bridgewater got first-team snaps. So what you got
Who would
here?
you start?
I'd start Bridgewater one more week. It's not that Bridgewater is going to dethrone Brees, not at all. It's that Brees needs to be healthy, and if Bridgewater's
The bye week coming.
exactly, if Bridgewater's been undefeated since taking over, you could ride that. He's hot. There's no reason to throw your older quarterback back into the fire. I'm sure he wants to. I'm sure Drew Brees is like, I'm playing. I want to play. But Bridgewater's done his job. He's done it well. The Cardinals aren't that good of a team. I think that no matter what, you should keep Bridgewater in this game with the idea that you want Brees to be fully healthy for that playoff run that the Saints are going to have. So, with that being said, that's who I'd start. Who you'd start?
I 100% agree with you for the exact same reasons you just said. Plus, you consider the age of Brees, and you give him one less week to be worrying about throwing the football. That gives him one extra week of full energy going into the postseason. So I like that. All right, I'm going to take the Saints to cover here. I know it's 9.5, so they're going to have to win by 10, and the Cardinals have won 3 straight, but they've won those 3 straight games by a combined 10 points. And the teams that they've beaten are the Bengals, Falcons, and Giants. That's not exactly impressive. And it's not like they haven't been good. It's just their competition has not been good. So I like the Saints with their strong defense to put up a solid win against the Arizona Cardinals. Not to mention this is going to be Kyler Murray's first trip inside the Superdome. That place is loud. It's vibrant. It's going to be a tough one for Kyler Murray in this one, I think.
I'm still going to take the Cards plus 9.5. I just have a feeling about this one. I don't really have a good reason because I normally pick the Saints in most games. I'm just going to pick the Cardinals plus 9.5. Jets at Jaguars. Jacksonville is favored by 5.5 points. What do you got here?
Call me crazy, but I think Greg Williams is going to turn up the heat on the rookie Gardner Minshew, and they'll be able to come up with some turnovers. And I'm going to thread the needle here. I think the Jaguars are going to win, but the Jets keep it close because of their defense.
Really? Okay, I'm going to pick the Jacksonville Jaguars to cover pretty handily. I think I'd take the spread, again, 10 points like I did last week in Jacksonville's game. Moving on to the 405, 425 slate of games. Panthers at 49ers. Kyle Allen's a starter. San Francisco's favored by 5.5. What do you got?
This is actually going to be my lock of the week. I'm going to take the 49ers to cover this one. I know the Panthers are coming off a bye week, but that 49ers defense is every bit as legit as it's been advertised to be. And yeah, they're not getting the attention that the Patriots are getting because they're not putting up the same numbers, but they've been darn good themselves. And even though the Panthers have been solid as of late, I don't know if the Panthers are going to be able to get Christian McCaffrey going. And if you don't get McCaffrey going, we don't know what Kyle Allen what he can do if he has to win the game on his own. We haven't seen that yet. So I'll take the Niners to win by about 10, but the Panthers will put up a good fight.
I'm going to pick the 49ers to cover too. It's just going to be rough for Kyle Allen. He hasn't had a challenge quite like this. Like you said, it's all about Christian McCaffrey. If they can't get Christian McCaffrey established on this defense, that's really tough. They're not really going to be able to do much. So I'm going to pick the 49ers to cover here with that in mind. Browns at Patriots. Jarvis Landry guaranteed a win. The Patriots are favored by 12.5, so Jarvis Landry doesn't care about no spread. Who's winning this game?
So I saw that the context was kind of like he didn't mean it as sort of like a guarantee, but you can't say it. You just can't say that because guarantees don't work like they rile up your team now. Now it's just bulletin board material for the other team. And as if the Patriots needed anything, no one doubts them anymore. Now that's all that they needed. So this feels like a 30-point blowout coming. And the Browns, poor Baker Mayfield, he struggled this year. And I got a feeling that against this defense, it's not going to get any better.
Yeah, New England's going to cover here, and I'm pretty sure that's what you implied too, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yes, sir. Moving on to Raiders at Texans. Houston is favored by 6.5 points. Who's winning this game?
I was going to go Raiders at first, but hearing that Josh Jacobs is still banged up, I just don't trust them right now. He's the only guy I really, really like on that team. But the Texans, even though they've been inconsistent, I think that they're still a good quality team, and they are the better team at home. So I think that means that they'll win by just a little over a touchdown here. So I'll take the Texans to cover.
I'm going to agree with you. I think the Texans are going to cover here, even though they're banged up at quarterback. Kind of funny that immediately... we didn't actually talk about that, but they traded right before they played. I didn't realize that they made a trade literally about 5 days before they played. So that's just interesting to me. We'll get to that later, what that trade was, but Texans are still banged up at quarterback. But I'm still going to take the Texans to cover. Sunday night football, the Packers at the Chiefs. The Green Bay Packers are favored by 4.5 against the Matt Moore-led Chiefs. What you got?
I don't know if this line has been updated because Mahomes was ruled out today, I believe. So I don't know if that'll change. But man, I really wish Mahomes would have been able to play. This would have been, I think, the first time these two guys would have been playing each other. It may now never happen if it doesn't happen in a Super Bowl because Rodgers is getting up there in age. But the Packers defense has played really well. I like Matt Moore, but I don't like him that much. And even with the Chiefs at home, I think this is a tough ask. I like the Packers coming in and winning on the road, so lay that 4.5 for me.
Same for me. The Chiefs are just such a banged-up team, and it's not even just Patrick Mahomes. They're down Chris Jones. They're down Eric Fisher. They're down Wiley, a backup guard. They're just out a lot of players here, and I just think that Green Bay is going to be able to win here. So give me Green Bay covering. And with that said, the byes are the Cowboys and the Ravens this week. And that's it. So we have 15 games this week. That wraps up our pick'em section. So now we got NFL news, and there is a lot. And as the trade deadline approaches, which is October 29th, more and more trades are occurring. And here are some since the last podcast. The one I referenced earlier or alluded to, the Raiders traded quarterback Gary Conley to the Texans for Seattle's third-round pick that the Texans acquired in the Clowney trade. So that's the first one. Do you have anything to say about that trade?
I guess Bill O'Brien just doesn't care about his pick. I don't know. I'm kind of surprised that he's still so aggressive.
Yeah, I wouldn't have picked the Texans with their little draft capital that they have left to be making a move, a special one that high. It's just, I guess you're right. Bill O'Brien does not care about his draft capital. Next one, Patriots sent a second-round pick to the Falcons for wide receiver Mohamed Sanu. What do you think of this one?
I think it's actually a good move for both teams, but right now leaning in favor of the Falcons. The second-round pick for your number 3 receiver is a damn good deal. But on the other hand, he's like ideal for the Patriots because he can replace, and we'll get to Josh Gordon in a minute, but he'll replace Josh Gordon in a sense. And he's the perfect kind of gadget guy to go along with them because he's a great passer on trick plays, and it feels like he could work out there as well. But on the other hand, the second-round pick is nice too. So I like the move for both teams, just a little in favor of the Falcons. And I would make that move in a heartbeat too if I were the Falcons too, you know?
I agree to that 100%. I thought the Patriots kind of overpaid for Mohamed Sanu. I like Sanu, just not that much. Maybe I would have probably shelled out a third-round pick and maybe a trade up in the 6th and 7th. So I think there is a big discrepancy for me with the pick that the Patriots gave up. But it does work for them. It does fill a position of need for them. So it does work out for both teams. Next, we have safety Quandre Diggs, and a 2021 7th was shipped to Seattle for a 2025th round pick. What do you think of that one?
I really don't understand this one. This one really upset the locker room of the Detroit Lions. Was Diggs, did he fall out of favor with the coaches or something? This is such a very small return for a really good safety.
Yeah, it does feel a little bit weird. It didn't make sense. I always thought Diggs was worth more. And then I saw that they even had to give a pick for that 5th round pick. Like, that's pretty rough, man. I don't know. It seems weird, but maybe more details will come. And now, next, you alluded to this one. The 49ers gave the Broncos a 2023 and 2024 for wide receiver Emmanuel Sanders and a 2025th. If I could just say, I thought this was great. I didn't think the Broncos were going to be able to get that much for him. They got more than the comp pick would have given them in this year. Like, it's coming in 2020 instead of 2021. I thought this was great for the Broncos. I didn't think they were going to be able to get that much for Emmanuel Sanders with his age and him being a one-year rental. What did you think of this trade?
I actually also like the move for the Broncos, but I also like it for the Niners too. The wide receiver position is a bit of a question mark. A lot of young guys. Sanders can help this year by being another solid player. I think he'll, finally having a good quarterback again, he'll be able to play better than we've seen the last few years. And he'll also prove to be a solid mentor for those younger receivers for the rest of the year.
Yeah, man, I agree. I think I should have said that. I like it for both. Finally, the Patriots shipped Michael Bennett to the Cowboys for a conditional 2021 7th that could turn into a 2021 6th if Bennett meets some requirements. Those details haven't been released, though, so we don't know what actually changes it. But what do you think of this one?
Remember when Michael Bennett said he hated Matthew Stafford because he's from, Dallas or whatever, and that's where JFK got shot?
Yeah, Michael Bennett is not my favorite player in the world. But, yes, I remember that statement.
He's an interesting fellow. The Patriots traded him for a bag of peanuts, but from what I can understand, he wasn't playing. The reason he wasn't playing wasn't because he wasn't playing well anymore, but more so just because they didn't have room for him. I don't know. I guess the Cowboys intend to use him, so we'll see. I think he's probably over the hill, but we'll see.
I think he was cut because he fell out of favor with the coaches. He got in a big argument, got suspended last week, and then he was already like, if they want to trade me, go right ahead. I think he fell out of favor really quickly with how he was acting, and I mean, that's not out of character for him, but regardless.
I forgot his brother played there for a couple of years, Martellus.
Yeah, Martellus was there for a little bit. Yeah, dude. Man, good times. Anyway, sticking with the Patriots, as a corresponding move to make room for Sanu, the Patriots have placed wide receiver Josh Gordon on IR with the idea that when he is healthy, which according to Gordon will be soon, they will cut him and he will go to waivers. That's at least supposedly the plan. That's the news that broke. What do you think about all this?
It's kind of confusing because I thought that Gordon was playing well in New England, but I guess they had enough with the Josh Gordon experiment. It really felt like he was there for longer than a year, longer than just barely a year. But he was only there for a year, and it's on to the next one for Josh Gordon. I imagine he'll be getting another shot somewhere, but he never turned into that Randy Moss player that I thought he was going to be.
Yeah, honestly. If he does end up being cut, I'm looking for the Steelers to go and grab him if they can, if they are high enough. His contract is going to be cheap. He's on a $2.5 million contract that the Patriots have already paid off some of it because Obviously, we're through quite a few weeks now. So that's a cheap contract. You cut Moncrief, get back your comp round pick that you lost from LJ Fort being cut from the Eagles, and you have an upgraded wide receiver just like that. So if he I would hope the Steelers make a claim for him if he does fall that far.
Well, that also depends on the Steelers still being in it. If you lose one of your next 2 or 3 games, then you can forget about it.
You make a good point, but I don't know. I'd still. There's no reason to lose.
Look, if you're in it, yeah, absolutely, yeah.
But I see there's no reason to lose either way. You don't have a first round pick. If you're playing for the second round pick, I don't know. I don't view the second round pick as valuable. I think you play to win till the very bitter end at that point. But yeah. Anyhow, going on to bold predictions and X Factors for this game. We're going to wrap up the Steelers and Dolphins here.
All right. Did you want the first X Factor today? I think you get the first one today.
All right, I'll do the first one. I'll pick Minka Fitzpatrick on defense. I think I like revenge games. I mean, it's not really a revenge game for him. It's mostly a revenge game for the Dolphins. But I like I like guys returning their old team and just sticking it to them. So I'm gonna pick Minka Fitzpatrick as my first X Factor. Who are your 2 X Factors?
All right. Offense. I'm gonna go with. I guess I could really go anywhere. I'll go with James Conner. Coming out, I know he's not on the injury report, but he had one of his better games of the season probably his best game of the season against the Chargers 2 weeks ago. And it looks like another prime opportunity for him to put up big numbers and rebound after a disappointing start to the season. So I'll name him as my X Factor. The offense will live through him on Monday night. And then on defense, I think of Fitzpatrick, that was a really good pick. I think that was the ideal one. I'll double down on Devin Bush. Bush had a breakout performance on Sunday Night Football 2 weeks ago with his first NFL touchdown, his second interception. I'm going to look for the rookie to continue proving that he belongs up there in the conversation for Defensive Rookie of the Year. So I'll take Devin Bush as my defensive X Factor, flying around all over the field, covering running backs, tight ends, and hopefully not, but maybe sometimes wide receivers.
For me, my last X Factor is going to be Deontay Johnson. I have a good feeling about him in this game. I feel like he's going to have a really good game here. So I'm going to pick him. And I'm just going to give you my bold predictions real quick. I'm going to say the Steelers record a whopping 6 takeaways and 6 sacks. It's a lot. But I'm expecting at least 3 takeaways. But I felt like it had to be bold. I feel like against the Dolphins, it wasn't bold until I got to 6. Because, Steelers got 5 against 49ers. I'm choosing 6 here. And I'm going to say that Minka Fitzpatrick gets 3 takeaways himself. It's going to be a good game for Minka Fitzpatrick, I think. I think he's going to get 3 takeaways himself, maybe 2 interceptions and a fumble recovery or something like that. What are your bold predictions?
The Fitzpatrick to Fitzpatrick interception is what I want to see.
Yeah, dude, it's going to be lit.
You make a good point about bold predictions against the Dolphins having to be bold, so I'm going to give the Steelers yielding 0 points. I think the defense is going to throw a shutout in this game. And then on offense, sound the alarm. Johnny Holton will not only catch a pass, he'll catch a touchdown.
Oh,
it's
Lord.
happening. Look.
Dude, I don't know, man. I predicted 6 takeaways, but that's pretty bold, man. I'm not sure that that's even a possibility. Are you sure that's real?
You know what's crazy is I actually feel more comfortable about 6 takeaways and 6 sacks happening than Johnny Holton catching a pass.
Damn, bro. Just a pass, not even a touchdown? Damn, you're giving nothing.
Well, he only gets targeted 20 yards down the field unless there's a busty coverage, which can happen. I still feel like this. I still feel like he could beat the coverage and drop the pass.
You make a good point there. Oh my God.
I hope I'm wrong.
I hope you're wrong too. Moving along. What's your final score prediction for this game? The Dolphins are at Heinz Field for this, and the Pittsburgh Steelers are favored by 14.5 points. What's the score gonna be?
Look, the Dolphins have played better the last few weeks than they had at the start of the year, but the Steelers coming off the bye week, the defense playing as well as it has, and I think getting Mason Rudolph back should be enough to add a solid vertical element to this team that it's been lacking all season, getting James Washington, Roosevelt mixed back. I've got a good feeling about this game. I know the Steelers tend to come out sluggish out of the bye, but they're going to be at home in prime time and wearing the color rush. I know the Dolphins are wearing their throwbacks, which is perfect because you got the two solid alternate uniforms here, but I think the Steelers are going to dominate this game. And I don't know if it's going to be an early domination. I think it's going to be over the course of the game, the Steelers offense will break through. Maybe it'll be 10-0 at halftime, but I think they'll finish with a 34-7 romp where the Dolphins' only touchdown comes on a special teams play, whether it be a blocked punt or a kickoff or, fumble return, something like that. It's not going to be no points allowed by the defense. So I'll take the Steelers winning comfortably and covering by a score of 34-7.
For me, I look at it this way. The Steelers are 4-0 in the color rush. The Steelers are 7-0 against all-time against Ryan Fitzpatrick-led teams. And under Mike Tomlin, the Steelers are 4-0 on Monday Night Football at home. So, all signs point to them, probably blowing it and playing down to their opponent, with all that being said. But it doesn't look likely in this game. The Steelers, I have them winning 31-8 with this the Dolphins getting a late touchdown and going for 2 and actually getting it. So I'm having the Steelers cover here. And, so do you have any closing thoughts about this game?
What I have a John's Journal talking about some of the worst losses in the Mike Tomlin era against undermanned teams, if you will. So my question to you is, how bad is this loss? How bad would losing to the Dolphins be? It would probably make the list, but where is it all time in terms of worst losses in the Mike Tomlin era?
Oh, geez. With how bad this Dolphins team is, I'm pretty sure it goes to the top if you lose. Can you really say there's a worse team than this Dolphins team that the Steelers lost to? If you're working on it, mate, you would know better than I. I don't remember a team that's worse than this Dolphins team. I'm sure the Steelers. What?
No, there isn't. But my point here is that even though the Dolphins are so bad, remember that the Steelers themselves are 2-4 and are starting their backup quarterback.
Yeah, you make a good point. But they're so bad.
If the Steelers were 4-2 going in, I think, easily. But I think that kind of buoys it a little bit.
I don't know, man. This Dolphins team is so bad, though. They're starting an entire team of backups for the most part.
It's definitely interesting. I'll give you a sneak peek of the games I have on the list. I won't reveal all of them to you. But I will say that there is a game from last season, and I could have very easily had 2 games from last season on there.
I know that it's got to be Raiders, right?
Yeah, the Raiders game was 1. I thought about the Chargers game, but I remembered that Chargers team did win 12 games, and the Steelers blew that lead partially in the third quarter. It wasn't just a fourth quarter blown lead. So there's that, and there's what's a random fact? There's 7 games in total, and there's 2 appearances from the Browns and 2 from the Jets.
Interesting. Okay.
I'm hoping to drop it tomorrow, so just be on the lookout for that.
Sounds good to me, man. Any other closing thoughts? NFL stuff? Anything else?
No, we already talked about Patrick Mahomes wasn't going to play. I'm just checking real quick to see if there's anything else here. Did you see Greg Robinson got benched? Browns offensive lineman? I
did see he got benched. He's not very good, so it makes sense. But, their offensive line is just bad. They don't really have anyone to replace him.
Indeed. So, we'll see. It should be interesting. If the Browns lose and the Steelers pick up a win, you're second place solo. Just got to worry about the Ravens then.
Yep, and the Ravens come back against the Patriots, so you just got to hope the Patriots do you a favor, unlike the Seahawks did. But anyhow, you guys have been listening to Season 4, Episode 38 of the Stronger Than Steel podcast. Questions, comments, concerns, you can email us. You can hit us up on social media. All those links will be down in the description below to our email and Twitter and all that good stuff. And we'll put the SoundCloud link if you're coming from YouTube and the YouTube link if you're coming from SoundCloud to check us out on either or. So, everybody, have a good night.
Take care.
You have been listening to Stronger Than Steel podcast. Thank you for joining us today, and don't forget to check out our website listed in the description below.